Hey, this morning we have with us Mr. Mark Manchester. How you doing, Mark?
I'm great, Joey. How are you? Thanks for having me. Come by today. Look forward to it.
Well, thanks for coming. I just finished up old Todd Ford. You know how that went.
I know how that goes. I've had a few interviews with Todd Ford over the years.
Yeah, so
Solved a lot of the world's problems.
there you go. We're glad to have you here. We're going to talk about growing up in Rector.
Sure.
And first off, let's introduce your family with us.
Sure. You know, picture there that you see, that's my oldest brother Jason on the far left with his wife Sarah. She's actually her father Bill Wood was a Rector native, grew up and lived here his whole life. And ironically, she and Jason met at Williams Baptist College and got married, and they have 2 kids, Macy and Max. And then, of course, my sister Lisa, who most people in Rector know, 38 years in the same classroom, very, involved in our community as well. That's mine and Lindsay's son Caleb there in the middle that just recently graduated from college, heading off to school. I hope to get him off the payroll someday. That's my wife Lindsay next to him in the light green dress there, and then me, and then my baby brother Kevin KK Manchester, who most of you know grew up here, lives in Paragould now, works in the car business with the Ford family, and yeah, so that's who we got left. Obviously, mother's still around, Jane. She's in the nursing home now, and then Dad passed away 8 years ago. Today would have been, actually tomorrow would have been his 100th birthday.
Wow.
And so we're of course celebrating that today, and we miss him very much, but feel his presence with us all the time.
Oh yeah, great guy. I'd go in a grocery store and around election time, he'd always say, "I hear you run for city council," or "I hear you're running for school board," and I'd always say, "Mac, if you're here that I'm running for either school board or city council,
That's right.
It's not true."
It's not true. It's not true. He loved this community, and of course he spent his entire life here, other than just a couple of periods when he worked, after the war up in Michigan in car plants, and at the end of the day, he really instilled a real sense of pride and community in all of us, and it shows through in the things that we're all involved in now.
Oh yeah,
For sure.
I'd always, after my dad passed away, I always rubbed my dad's head, and after my dad passed away, I'd always rub Mac's head,
That's right. And I've still got some hair. I get that from Mama's side of the family, and KK is actually bald. He's got. Dad, you can rub his head now, so the tradition lives on.
I bet he won't be as easy to get along
No,
with.
he won't be as easy to get along with as Daddy was, for sure.
Yeah. Well, here's your immediate family.
Yeah, that's us. I think that's at the chamber banquet this year. Caleb got a scholarship that night, and we had a great time. And Lindsay and I have been married for 9 years now, and we've raised Caleb along the way there, and been very, very blessed to have him, and blessed to have them in our life. And of course, we were in Manila when we married, and came back here kind of just at the right time, really, to be part of a lot of really great things happening in Rector, and it was kind of important for us we wanted Caleb to have the same diploma that we had, to have the same name. It worked out pretty well for us, and so we felt like it was going to work out for him well. And Kathy had just passed, Lindsay's mother, Kathy Manning, and so it was good to be back here for Keith and Mom and Lisa as well, and there's nowhere else in the world we'd rather be.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you bet. Well, I tell you, I know people get tired of me talking about Rector, but I just love it here.
It's Joey. I mean, it's all the time, and I'm always amazed that we haven't seen some sustained growth just in people from some of the larger communities, 15, 20, 30 minutes in our area, looking for a little different kind of lifestyle. We talk a lot about this is still a place where you can sit on your front porch and have a cup of coffee and hear kids playing up and down the sidewalk, and that doesn't exist everywhere. I was with a guy today who told me he moved down here about a year ago from up in the Ohio area, and he said when he was up there one day, he and his son were just kind of riding around their neighborhood on their side by side, and got pulled over 3 times. And he said the first time when he moved here, they had ridden their side by side up through town. We're going to go to the Caffeinated Cow and get some ice cream, and he said he met the police officer, and he thought, holy cow, if it's get pulled over, and he said, lo and behold, the police officer just waved at me, and I kept on going. You know, and I think that's one of the great stories, kind of sums up what we have that other people don't have, and we're blessed by it. And like I said, I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world.
I see everything from people walking their dogs.
Yeah.
And they're on the side by side.
Yes.
Or a golf cart.
Yeah, riding. Yep, the dog walked along, you're driving a golf cart. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, we say that, and you know, when I don't think we appreciate it as much as we should, or as often as we should, or celebrate it quite like we should.
Yeah.
And you know, that's one of the things we've kind of been talking about in some of our chamber meetings and different things, is how do we start to sell what we have and market it better to bring in some of those type of people who, you know, can really benefit your community and do some things.
Yeah. Well, is it true that they're going to be building some more apartments here?
That's definitely in the plans. Yes.
Yeah.
You know, it's like everything else. I tell people all the time, I've been at this community development game and school business game a long time, and I don't get too excited until I see dirt moved.
Yeah.
And so, you know, that is in the plans. Also, you know, hoping to see some residential, you know, single family housing as well, you know, start to pop up in some places that could be beneficial too. So, you know, there are a lot of things happening to be encouraged about.
Well, if the builders realize that there are lots here that already has gas, already has
That's
electricity, correct. A lot of them already has driveways, you know, that maybe the building's still there, they got to tear it down, but look how far advanced they are, and I mean they're $30,000 ahead starting right off.
And you know, I mean, the price of a lot, you know, I mean, it's just, you know, you go to Paragould or Jonesboro, you're liable to pay $40,000 for a, you know, tiny lot to build a house on that's not going to give you enough grass to, you know, even think about having a riding lawnmower.
Yeah, it doesn't, and it doesn't have the gas. And electricity.
It doesn't have electric and all that other things to it already. Yeah. And you know, I drove through town yesterday because I had been having a conversation with somebody, and I wanted to just check my numbers, and just, you know, right in here behind us on our side where you and I live, right that area, I counted 14 empty lots, Joey, that are just sitting there saying, hey, somebody build a house on me.
Yeah.
And, you know, Lindsay and I were kind of part of when we were in Manila, we were kind of part of a kind of mini housing boom over there that continues today. And you know, part of it now is driven a lot by the expansion of the steel mills at Big River and Nucor. But in the beginning, when it first started, what it really was just one single guy building a house, saying, I'm going to build a house, and I'm going to build it on this lot. And he built the house, and his neighbors looked around and went, you know, this guy, I can build a new house. That's a nice house. I want a new house. And so he built a house, and next thing you know, you had a couple of guys in the community that were builders who thought, I'll build one, move into it, stick a for sale sign in the front yard. When I sell that, I'll move into another one, you know, and do the same thing. And that kind of snowballed into different and various things, because and the way we figured that out really was because our school wasn't growing like we thought it should. It was growing some, but not like we thought, in conjunction with the new housing that was going up everywhere. And we found that at that time, it was really just kind of driven by people in the community that were already there, and a few in from the outside coming in and just building a house. You know, I tell people all the time, I built 2 houses from the ground up, and I didn't buy either one of them in a subdivision. They weren't already built. I just built them. You know, hired a builder and built them. And so that's what, you know, I think we maybe might start to see some of that as well.
And we have some builders who have come into town.
Oh yeah, we have some of the potentials there. It's like anything else, Joey. It's convincing somebody to make the investment, and because it's a risky venture, and all business is risky.
Sure.
You know that. You've been in it your whole life too. And then secondly, it's having a situation where you're able to go, okay, I did it once, doing it again. To stick with that process and have patience, because you know, if you build a subdivision in Rector with 12 new homes in it, you're not going to sell them all in 6 months or even a year. You know, it's going to take a while, and so you've got to have. And some of these builders, they need to move. They need to turn units faster than that.
Well, it's everything I see like that's exciting to me.
It is to me too.
When I see, you know, I know you have. We've worked on getting this AT&T
Yeah.
tower
Oh,
here
yeah.
for what,
So
5
excited.
years?
You know, I told Bill Taylor 3 years ago when we hired him as basketball coach, first time he opened his phone up in the gym, he went, "Mark, why can't I talk on the phone?" And I said, "Bill, you AT&T?" And he went, "Yeah." I said, "It's not gonna work, brother."
Yeah.
I said, "This is Verizon town." And so we ever since then I've said, "Bill, no, we're gonna build an AT&T tower." And we had to talk him into coming back this year. He wasn't just his third year. He was really wanting to retire on us. We talked him into coming back one more year. And so I sent him a picture yesterday. I said, "I know it took me a while, brother, but here it is. It's almost up. You'll almost be able to talk to somebody."
Well, some of the reasons that we don't have that it took so long to get this tower here. I don't know if you know about this or not, but they had an arbitrator.
Yes.
And because it was going to change the skyline,
Mm-hmm.
and you could see it from the museum,
Yeah.
and you could see it from the visitor center,
Yeah.
2 places that people from out of town
Yeah.
will be coming to. They said AT&T has got to do something for you,
Mm-hmm.
and so they interviewed about 4 of us here in town that had a history here, and they made a little booklet from that, and then there's going to be a website that you can go to, and it'll have the buildings around town, and
That's gonna be
that's
really
what
cool.
they did for we had like a group in here talking to them on the phone, and we just kept saying, "Look, we don't want anything. We just want a tower."
Yeah.
And the arbitrator, no, they've
No,
got to
it
do
works that way.
something for you.
They
They've
gotta
got to do something. Yeah.
And that's one other thing you get into in all this stuff is, whatever party A is involved with, there's going to be a party B that's going to want something out of that deal, and party C, and it's complicated, man.
They're putting fiber optics in.
Yes, very excited about that.
We're going to have both AT&T and Verizon towers inside the city limits. I mean, how many towns this size can say that?
Not very many, and Joey, I've had this conversation with you, and I've had it with Representative Woolridge several times, and other people, and one of the things about America right now that should be encouraging to a place like us, what you just said, Verizon Tower, AT&T Tower, fiber optics, is so many people work from home.
Mm-hmm.
So many people, and those people can live wherever they want, and again, it goes back to how do we effectively market to someone who lives in Des Moines, Iowa, or Minnesota, or wherever it may be, who goes, that looks like a pretty good place to just chill and enjoy life and be part of a community and get those people in, because those people, they have disposable income that they spend in restaurants and at gas stations and at stores and whatever, and they are the volunteers because they have time, on their hands because of their job situation, and they feel like they should give back, and those are we want to find more people like that.
Yeah, exactly. And you gave me an idea. I know that we're supposed to be doing history.
Oh, yeah,
of
we'll get to
Rector.
that. We'll get to that in a minute.
But the
I
idea
wanna
you
talk
gave
about
me
that.
is that I want to find those people like the guy you said moved here from,
Yeah.
Iowa or
Ohio.
Ohio. And and we have the couple that moved here from
Yeah.
Illinois, the
Yeah.
Thompsons.
Yeah.
And they just love it here.
Love
and
it.
get those people and do interviews with them
Yeah.
and put
That's
it out
exactly
there.
right. Put that. What have
yeah.
you found? Just like we were talking this morning with him, and he said, he said this day since we moved here, we've really sensed a feeling of community that we've never been a part of anywhere that we are before. And when I do think, I've lived other places, and I've tell people this all the time. We're in some ways we're small enough that we don't fight and argue about stuff. I've lived in some communities that were twice as big as Rector, still small towns, but they were just big enough that they had enough people who had an opinion about everything that it was hard sometimes to get things done.
Yeah.
And we work together better than any place I've ever been. And even if we don't agree about everything, we're pretty good about putting our own personal agendas aside and going, this is what's best for everybody.
Yeah.
And that's what it takes to sustain the lifestyle that you have, yet grow that lifestyle and get more out of it.
Yeah, but there's been several projects that we've done, and people say to me, it amazes me that Rector can do these things.
Yeah.
You know, the Gaither concerts we
Yeah,
had.
yeah.
You know, there was like
Oh, it was-
140 people putting
Yeah,
that thing
I
on.
mean that was amazing. I mean, you and I were in the middle of that. I mean, I never
Yeah.
worked so hard in my life.
Yeah,
I remember Bill sending me a note a couple days afterwards. Said, "Mark Minchurch, I don't know how you worked as hard as you did." And I sent him back once and said, "Bill, I don't really know how I worked that hard either. I didn't know I did it.
You didn't know you could.
I didn't know I could. You know,
Yeah. Well, yeah. If you work for him, you work.
if you work for Bill,
hard.
you're gonna work hard." That's the end of that discussion.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but you know, it put us on the map. I mean, everywhere
Oh, yeah.
I go, people say, you know, man, when you have another concert, and I still have people say to me, when you going to have another concert, and I will say here that it's not like a big one like in the gym. But
Yeah.
I am working on something for October,
Excellent.
and I'll be.
I'll be in.
After
You know I'm
yeah,
in. You
yeah,
know I'm
yeah.
in.
And
You know me
so,
in music.
yeah,
I mean, that's
yeah.
you and I share that passion to the end of the world and
Yeah,
back again.
yeah, no kidding. And so let's just put this up here and make it just for a little fun.
That's one of our favorite pictures. That's us at that's Lindsay and I at the Wilson Derby party a couple of years ago. You know, Lindsay worked in the accounting department over there as a controller for Mr. Lawrence, for Galen Lawrence, the G.L. Lawrence Company, and for 6 or 7 years. And we were blessed to make a lot of friends over there and spend a lot of time. And of course, you know, they've done some amazing things with that little village they have over there. And of course, they have some assets that we don't have. And you know, but both of us learned a lot about, you know, how to fundraise and how to make things happen and network with people who had connections for grants and various different things like that. Yeah.
Well, that is one of the things that I work on a lot here in the museum is the grants, and they're
They're hard to get. I mean,
they're hard to get.
They're harder to get than people think they are.
Hard to keep.
And you know, one thing that gets you on a lot of these grants you see now, particularly what we deal with the city, is like a park grant or a sewage grant or a sidewalk grant or something like that, is there's always a matching component. And you've got to come up with that matching component. And it's easy for them to say, we'll give you $100,000, but we're only going to give you $100,000 if you spend $100,000 on the same thing. And you know, sometimes you just don't have the $100,000. And,
Yeah, that's right.
you know, we are very excited. We're going to get about 600 feet of sidewalk through a matching grant with up on 5th Street, new sidewalk. And that's been the first time for new sidewalk in Rector in a long time.
Well,
you know?
that
That's a start.
this morning they were pushing, I guess, a Head Start to the library.
Yeah.
And they were walking, and they had these buggies that had like 3 kids in
Yeah,
them,
it's awesome.
and they couldn't use the sidewalk.
No,
they had to go down the
they had to go
street.
down the street.
But once they get to 5th Street, they can do 5th Street all the way up.
All the
and
way
back
up.
the
That's
alley
right.
that way.
And work our way, you know,
Yeah.
across the track, back up, you know, that kind of deal. But it just takes time. And, you know, you know, Joey, there's a silver lining in that too. And kind of what we were talking about a minute ago, you know, it still is a place where you can push a buggy down the street and feel pretty safe about it.
Yeah.
You know, and that's, you know, there's a silver lining in everything if you look and find it. I've learned that over time.
I've seen people on Facebook talk about that maybe they were over at the Vintage Junkie.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
their kids just walked over to the Caffeinated Cow.
Yeah, just walk over there, man. And I mean,
They're
well,
back
I
and
mean, you
they
know,
were fine.
and that's probably a pretty good way to segue into what we were
Yeah.
supposed to talk about anyway, which was growing up in Rector. And you know, and when I grew up in Rector, and you grew up in Rector, I can remember a day just like today when I was about 12, 13 years old somewhere. No, I wasn't that, probably 11, 10. I got on my bicycle about 8 o'clock in the morning, and I took off. And I didn't come home until it was dark.
Yeah.
And now I remember my mother was mad at me and I was in trouble and I didn't get to go anywhere for about 3 or 4 days. But the flip side of that is nobody ever wondered whether I was, you know, kidnapped or anything was wrong. You know, they just knew I was out somewhere running around and hadn't come home when I was supposed to.
Oh, yeah.
You know, but we just went all over, you know.
My dad, we lived out by Ebenezer Church,
Yeah.
Ebenezer Community. And my dad worked at Crockett's. Well, some days I'd come with him, get here at 7 o'clock. I didn't have a bicycle. I just walked.
Yeah.
My favorite place to hang out of all places was Clarence Russ's store.
Yeah.
Because he did all that leather work. And,
Oh, yeah.
You know, and I'm one of these who just loves to see how things are made.
Oh yeah.
You know, and just to watch him do all that leather work, and you know, and I'd buy me a couple of pieces of that. It was shoestrings, I guess, but it was
Yeah.
leather, you know,
Yep.
and we'd plait that and make
Yeah.
whips and whatever. And,
Mhm.
but I just would walk the streets.
Yeah.
You know, and nobody
Nobody
cared.
cared
I
anything
mean,
about it.
I mean, even my parents didn't care, and you
No,
know,
they
you go
didn't
off
care.
like at 6 in the afternoon.
You know.
You know,
And because
so-
here's one side of that: if you did something wrong, your mama would, your mom or daddy would know in 5 minutes, and you'd be in the back of a car heading home for something you didn't want. You know, it's going to be a long little bit of time there.
Yeah, they would know it pretty quick.
You know, I was the same way about Thompson's Variety. You know,
Mhm.
we called it the dime store when I was a kid. And,
Yeah.
you know, if I had a nickel for every time I spun that thing that had all the Matchbox cars in it that spun around back here in the back of the store, I'd be a millionaire. I mean, I was just mesmerized by all those Matchbox cars,
Yeah.
and I wanted every one of them. You know, and it just, and again, you know, you'd come in there and they didn't care if you know, I mean, they make sure you didn't do anything wrong,
Yeah.
but you know, it was just a different time than what we live in now.
Yeah, I remember that Doug Arnold
Yeah,
would come out to Ebenezer, and Joanne Sanders
yeah,
would come out to his grandparents, and so we would all meet at his grandparents and run the hills. And,
yeah. Oh yeah.
you know, and now you think rattlesnakes and copperheads.
Oh, yeah.
We didn't think anything
Didn't
about
think
that
anything
then.
about stuff like that.
Yeah, and
You know, and you know, and I really think if they're from like 1960 to probably the mid to late 90s, in my opinion, there wasn't a better place in the world to be a kid. I mean, if you know, teenagers especially. I mean, Joey, gas was cheap. You know, I mean, we drove this circle up here on Main Street to Harps and back till the wheels were off. You know, you had to get your tires realigned once a month because you made so many left turns. But you know, gas was cheap. There weren't cell phones. You were present in the moment. You were present in being a teenager and in being a kid. You know, you weren't in your house playing video games all day. You were outside playing ball or riding your bike or digging a hole or, you know, shooting BB guns or whatever it was. But you were present in the moment.
yeah, you know, do you know what stopped the making the dragon downtown, as we used to call it?
No, not off the top of my head.
You know,
I know,
think,
I'm sure I know this, but I don't remember.
I think, and I'm not sure, but I think that it was the highway department mostly.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, we used to turn. We circled around the M&M, went back.
Yeah.
But then we went on down to the intersection.
The intersection.
down there.
118 made that
Made
U-turn right there, and then
U-turn,
came
and
up,
that's
and
probably
then
what you
right out
did.
here and made the U-turn right in front of where
And
we're sitting right now.
And I'm going to guess it was the highway department. I think it probably was. You know, it, coming into town over there, well, of course, this way too, they're coming pretty fast, but, you know, I don't remember anybody ever
Oh,
having a wreck.
I actually hit somebody down there one time when I was about 15 or 16.
Oh, no.
And it's kind of a funny story. Mama was out of town. Daddy was working at the grocery store like you talked about. And I was driving that old gold Ford LTD that they had. And I had gone down to Harper's to swindle some money out of Dad so that I could go do something. And I wasn't 16 yet. I was 15, I think. And I pulled out of that Harper's parking lot right there, you know, made that little loop and boom, ran right in the side of somebody. I can't remember what it was.
Oh, no.
And you know, Mom was mad when she got home, and I mean, it was quite an experience. But I survived.
I never heard of anybody having a wreck, and you had to.
I had
screw
one.
up.
I did.
Yeah.
I had one down there.
Yeah. So, Halloween.
Oh,
Halloween, the kids have no idea.
no
Halloween
idea what
really
it was
is.
like, and you know, and again, it goes back to that thing of, you know, every now and then somebody would do something, you know, stupid,
Yeah.
for lack of a better way to put it, and get in trouble. But for the most part, you know, it was fun among friends. It was confined, but it was exciting. And you know, there was a carnival uptown. You know, I remember the carnivals up here on Main Street when I was younger, and I mean, they were huge. You know, it was a haunted house, and there were games set up, and you know, there was trick or treating in amongst there, and then you go church. I mean, you know. I don't know how I ate all that candy when I was a kid. Well, I do, looking at myself now.
Well, you know, you're right. We did have the carnivals and the haunted houses. You know, I started, the first haunted house I worked in was an armory in 1972.
Yeah.
And I did every year for, gosh, I don't know, 72.
Oh, that's,
30 years. I
oh
guess.
yeah, we had that
And
up until 2000 or
you
something.
know, we got a couple of magicians to help us. And
Yeah.
remember
that.
I remember the big one. Two big things that happened. One was the bride turned into a gorilla, and the gorilla come out chasing you, and the bride was Leah Ford, and the gorilla was he's gonna kill me. And I can't, Nevada.
Nevada.
Nevada
Yep,
Smith.
Nevada.
Yeah, of all people,
Yep.
Nevada Smith, the biggest gorilla in
I
town.
would have been there on that bunch because those were my people.
Yeah, and so we the other one was the guys down at the store built a big truck out of actual truck parts,
Yeah.
and they painted the
Remember
windshield looked like somebody was sitting in the truck, and it was dark, and the horn and lights would all go off, and it looked like the semi truck was running over you. And people would pee their britches right there. I mean, the floor was wet from where people would pee their pants from that truck, and even some of the grandmas talked dirty. but those are some of the things that growing up. But
we were blessed. You don't appreciate stuff like that until you get older and you look back and you think, man, I was lucky, or man, I had so much going for me that I didn't know I had going. There's things we didn't have, but we didn't know we didn't have them.
Yeah, right.
You didn't know. Nobody else had them.
I didn't move here till I was 14, but that first Christmas, my dad bought my sister and me banana bikes from down to Western Auto.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, we wore those bikes out. I especially did. I mean, I've told this before in here, but I've ridden my bike out to Leonard before when it was that little sand road.
Oh yeah.
They'd go out and visit with J.D. Clayton, but you just growing up. I mean, school,
and that's another place. You talk about the Western Auto Store. I mean,
yeah,
running. They had those. They had those bikes lined up against that window, and when you're a 10, 14-year-old kid, that's just. I mean, that's too much to look at. You just can't hardly stand it. I want that. You want that bike. I mean, see that every day. But it was awesome too. Part of the problem is now a kid go to Walmart, they got 50 bikes in there.
Yeah.
I mean, they're everywhere, and that's they miss that joy of what that meant to have that one spot in town, that one place where there was something for you.
Yeah, and every time you went by there,
you went by there, you looked at
that you had picked out,
you looked at it,
or BB gun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Our record albums.
Or even you remember when you'd order something from the Hoppers at the Sears store and you'd go in there every day to see if it came in. Did it come in? Did it come in? Did it come in?
Yeah. Chuck Chadwick's uncle ordered a guitar from Sears and Montgomery Ward one and walked a mile every day to meet the mailman to see if his guitar came in. And the guitar cost $4.
$4.
Yeah.
That's something.
Yeah.
I mean, that's humble.
That's way back there.
I paid $4 for a glass of tea today. Sure did.
And he got a guitar for it.
He got a guitar for $4.
You know how many cups of tea you can buy for a guitar today?
Oh.
Labor Day, after Labor Day, before I moved to the Venetian community, we lived beside the Catholic Church on the highway, where the Danny Ford's used car is now. And there was, and I can't remember, but we called him the Colonel, lived down the street, and after Labor Day, of course we just lived there the 1 year in 1956, but after Labor Day, we walked over there and walked around the picnic ground picking up money.
Yep. And, you never did that. That's a pretty good idea, though. I don't know why I didn't think of that.
Yeah, and another thing we did is you may not remember. You remember the big bleachers that were in the old baseball field?
Oh,
the football field is now.
Oh yeah.
They had a roof over it, but the seats, they were not closed in.
Yeah.
And so after every ball game, we'd go over there and walk
Get
around
underneath
under there.
those bleachers
Yeah.
and look for money,
Yeah,
yeah.
find money. Yeah.
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 And that, and I mean, again, that was, I can remember, playing wiffle ball or something, and you'd break your wiffle ball, or somebody hit the baseball somewhere and you couldn't find it, and I mean, it was like it was game on. How do we get it? We're finding, you looking for pop bottles, and heading to the dime store with what, first to the regular store to, up here to IGA to cash in your bottles, get your change, and then to the dime store to get your new ball, and then get back out and play ball. And one thing that I know, like now from being elementary principal is, and kids are great today, but they're different. They wouldn't do that. They just go do something else. You know what I'm saying? Like even though maybe they hadn't wanted to play, they would just find something. They go play a video game, or they do this, or they do that. We didn't. It never entered our mind. We go to something else. No, we got to play baseball. We lost to baseball.
I never thought about that, but I guess that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that because you just can't keep their attention, or?
Attention has a lot to do with everything anymore, Joey, and it's not. And I'm gonna tell you right now, it is not kids' fault that they can't, that their attention span is, because people say kids can't pay attention. That's not true. Kids can pay attention as well as they ever could. The problem is they can't pay attention for as long as maybe that we would expect them to as 50-year-old men and women. It's not that they can't pay attention. It's the time that they can pay attention, or at least be on one task before they need to go to another. And there's so many things that go into that. Everybody blames phones and social media, and that has a lot to do with it, but that ain't the only thing. There's a lot that goes into that.
Well, yeah. I mean, I was never one who could pay attention.
Yeah,
I don't know if I had the ADD or whatever.
Yeah.
But I still can't. Up until I broke my elbow, I had never watched TV.
Really?
No, I couldn't.
I did not know. Yeah, see, I've known you all my life, and we've done all things we've done. I didn't know you did. I didn't know that about you.
I still don't know anybody like the movie stars and all that. And when people talk about watching Rocky, all those kinds of shows, Rain Man, I'm not seeing any of them because I just couldn't sit there that long. I need to go do something.
Well, I'm sure Mom still has all my old report cards put up somewhere, but I remember every one of them always said, "Can't sit still and talks too much." And I guess if you ask people who work with me at school right now, they'd probably say Mark can't sit still and he talks too much. And those type of things usually don't change with people. Like you said, you're like me. I mean, I hadn't sat down since Saturday, I don't think.
Yeah. That's the way me. I've got to, I'll be sitting there with Janice, and watching a movie, and I'll just say, hey, I gotta get up. I gotta go outside.
I gotta go do something.
Just can't do it. Yeah. So, what else you got on your mind?
Well, there's always lots of things on my mind. I mean, we had a great chamber banquet back in the spring, Joey. You were there. We honored you, and we're honored to honor you. Nobody ever deserved that anymore. And and I know that you get tired of hearing it, but the amount of things that you do for this community is really, I mean, it's mesmerizing and it's mind-boggling if people really knew, and we appreciate it so much. And but you're not the only person who does things like that. I mean, there's a lot, and it goes on behind the scenes, and it goes on that people never know about. And I think go back to what we said earlier. We were so lucky to grow up here, and you and I figured out a way to stay here, and not everybody did that, and that's, people moved off. But I want to tell you, Rector is different in that people who don't live here anymore, but they're from here, they still know what's going on here. They're still involved, and you know this from your work here with the museum and work we've done on Veterans Park and different things. They will help. They want Rector to be a good place to live, and they will help us. And I tell kids all the time when they graduate from high school, I say, it doesn't matter where you go, but don't forget where you're from. And I said, small town success doesn't just depend on the people who live there. It depends on the people who are from there and continue to give back. And I want to thank people, because I know a lot of people watch this who don't live in Rector, and I want to thank you for still being part of our community and for taking part of our things and taking pride in the things that our kids do and that people in our town do. And I mean, there's nothing better than flipping on that Facebook page feed, after a ball game and seeing somebody that's in Michigan or California or Florida or Texas or wherever, way to go guys, way to go team, and or when kids win a competition or something, an FBLA event or band or whatever, and that's pretty cool, and that again, that does not happen anywhere. We hired a new elementary PE teacher this week. Coach Dorman's going to go do the ALE room for us in high school, and we hired a young lady who told us it was her dream job to work at Rector. She's from Holcomb, and why? And she said, well, I see the way y'all do things here, and it's the way that I want to do things. It's the way that I think people ought to do things. And she's not from here, but she wants to be here. And when I noticed on even her post that she made, hey, I got a job at Rector on Facebook. I scrolled down about 10 or 12 posts, and there was somebody that I don't even know that said, hey, Rector's my hometown. You're gonna love it there. And that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And like I said the other day at Dorothy's funeral, John, a friend of mine sent me a message, said that he's lived here a little while. He said, I understand now why you guys have always been so proud to be from Rector, and I am proud to be from here.
Yeah.
And I don't want anybody to ever, we struggle some at school with test scores and some of that stuff. We get a lot of input from people in Little Rock on how we should do things. And we remind ourselves that this is a family program at the moment. But I tell my staff all the time. I said, we're not going to apologize for how we do things. Are we going to work harder than everybody else? You dadgum right we are. Are we going to take more pride in what we do? You bet we are. But we are not going to apologize for who we are and for what we do, because we are somebody to be proud of and some place to be proud of. And, we're a place where people are from. You know what I'm saying?
You're
how do you
exactly
think
right.
about people that that, where you're from? Oh, well, I'm from Paragould, or I'm from Jonesboro, or I went to school at Valley View, or I went to school at Little Rock Central, or I went to school at Fayetteville. People are from Rector. They are from here.
And it amazes me when I run into people that are from Rector, or has a connection to Rector when I'm out and about. I mean, well, just like today when I posted on there, the AT&T towers going up. Did you see the guy who said, I did the ground testing.
Yes,
whatever.
I did
He's
see
from
that.
Here.
Yeah, I did see that. Yes, yeah.
And we were at the Dallas airport one time, and we walked up to this guy and said, if you're going to Memphis, follow that lady right there. They canceled her flight, and so we caught up with her as we were talking, and she said, Rector, she said, my sister-in-law's from Rector.
Mm-hmm.
And it's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just,
Well, one thing I found is when you go places, if you talk to people, you'll find out you have more in common with them than you think they do.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's, in our world today, we need to find things in common with each other more than we need to find things that we don't have in common.
I agree.
And again, I said earlier, we respect each other in this town more than other places do. And we respect hard work, and we respect people who want to do the right thing, and people who want to make what they have better.
Yeah.
And that's all anybody can ask. And I tell kids at school, all I'll ever ask for is that you act right and you try hard. That's it. Just act right and try hard. And if you do that, everything else is going to fall into place. Everything else is going to take care of itself. And things like ambition and things like that. I mean, and if you think about in the last 50 years, some of the things that people from Rector have accomplished, on not just in Rector, but in statewide and nationally and regionally as well, in so many different and various fields, something's right about what we have. Mm-hmm. Something's right about who we are. And can we point to failures? Yeah, we can. I mean, and I tell people all the time, it goes back to, you think about it, we got a lot, baseball's a big deal around here. In baseball, if you succeed 1 out of 3 times, you're going in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
If you fail 2 out of 3 times, they're going to put you in the Hall of Fame. And that's what we have to focus on, is the things that we do right and the things that we do well, and try to do more of them and create more people. And so what I would say to anybody that happens to listen, if you're not from here, drive through town with an open mind and not say, there's not a house here for me to buy. I hear this all the time from when we're trying to recruit staff to school. Where am I going to live if I come up there? Well, my answer to you is, go see your banker and borrow the money and build a house. People do it every day. Mm-hmm. They do it every day. And what I would tell you is if you get ready to sell it, it's a pretty good chance you're going to sell it pretty quick around here because there's not a lot of options to get, so we got to make our own luck.
Yeah, there was a time when there were for sale signs all over town.
All over, but they
And
ain't
now
anymore.
They're not.
They're
now.
not anymore. I mean,
and if somebody puts a house up for sale,
It's usually gone pretty quick.
yeah. It may not
usually
be a
gone pretty
24-hour
quick.
deal, but
That's right.
it's a pretty good investment.
That's right. But and again, Joe, we talk about, I said today was Dad's 100th birthday, and when you think about, and we had Dorothy Webb's funeral last week, and Pat Martin's the first of this week, and when you think about those people and what they have meant to our community, and more than that, even what they saw, what they saw and what they lived through in their lives and experienced, and we and I had problems. But we ain't got the kind of problems they had when they were kids or when they were our age.
Yeah.
I mean, people today think you ain't got problems.
Well, I tell people, and I don't think they believe it, but gosh, if I have a perfect life. I do tell people about Janice. Everybody knows she has a lot of health issues. I tell them, if I'd have ordered a wife from Sears, I would have ordered Janice.
Yeah.
I would have taken the extended warranty.
Well, I mean, you said it right there. I mean, I think about that all the time. Forrest Gump ain't got nothing on us, man.
That's right.
I mean, we have been so lucky to be surrounded by people, and it's just like, like I mentioned the Chambermaker already, and Craig stayed with us that night at the house, and of course we had some people over and visited, and then Craig and I mean, it was the sun was practically up before he and I went to bed, and we didn't know, and it was just this and that, and what about this and this, and those kind of conversations that are just, and you're blessed with that. We've been blessed by the people. I have had people in my life who I could look up to and admire and try to be like, and I hope that I have done the right thing there.
Yeah, same here. We're sitting here. They can't see it, but there's the old theater seats.
I love sitting in those things when I come here up here. By the way,
well, all these girls that were 2, 3, 4 years older than me, that they're just beautiful. When they come to the museum, I always get to sit in the seat there with them. Get my picture made with them.
Get your picture like that to movies.
Just like I wanted in the movies. Yeah.
Yes, and that's and I just love the connection that our youth brought us in Rector, and I see that with you and your friends. Y'all are a little bit older than me, and I see the connection that like you and Keith Lindsay's dad is an example.
Yeah.
The stories that y'all had and the experiences that y'all have shared, and it's because you were from here, and you were around each other, and you went, you like music? I like music. Let's like music. Let's play some music, and that's you like basketball. I like basketball. Let's play basketball. And you got a swimming pool. You're everybody's best friend. That's
everybody but you. All right. Well, we're at 43 minutes.
That's me. I can sit and talk about Rector all day and twice on Sunday.
Well, we can do it again.
We'll do it again sometime for sure.
Well, hey, I appreciate you.
Appreciate you, brother. Thanks for having me. And anytime.
We'll do this again sometime.
Yep.